stranger to me, to you. But our pieces left uncovered. I'm thinking about four-leaf clovers. I've got composure. Silver coin, you hold me, turn me over. I never expect to forget about it. Watch as the breeze burns gold and smoke that you've stolen. Feels like it's my fortune.
All right. Let's begin here. Let's make sure my sound is okay. Ooh. I think we're good. Okay, yep, we're set to go. Oh, welcome guys, welcome. Wow, 6 likes already, or 7 now. Just updated, 7 likes. Thank you guys. Okay, so let's begin Tuesday's live stream, or this first live stream for this training week. If you guys did not read the title there in the description box, please do now. But we'll be talking specifically about SOUN, or SoundHound AI Incorporated. Now, the reason being that I'm doing the single stock tickers and outlooks and analysis during my lives is that people have been enjoying them, right? Instead of looking at a wide variety of tickers, I think focusing on one single ticker and just providing my entire thesis and thoughts and analysis on this company or a specific company that we want to look at on a particular night during the live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays can be a bit more productive, which I also agree as well. So we will be doing a lot more of these in the future, and if you guys are really liking it through, by showing your own support, through likes, comments, or just simply viewing these live streams, the replays even, that can definitely help me see that you guys are liking these single ticker analysis on each live stream that we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. All right, so first of all, well, let's begin. So SOUN, or SoundHound, was initially a swing trade idea from the CFO Swing Watch report back in mid to late September. So we had our eyes on it in mid-September, or actually even in August, and we noticed this very nice looking, well, obviously it's a very large consolidation after this massive rise up in February, and the price really didn't go anywhere for most of this year. And as the price continued to tighten, we made this very small looking but very wide lengthened wedge chart pattern, or specifically people like to call it an equilateral triangle or symmetrical triangle chart pattern, but again, it's synonymous. There's no really need to argue which it is, what to call it. But we noticed this, and so we had a original entry point over $5.10, because that would mean that we're going to be out of this wedge chart pattern, this descending resistance trend line, and over this horizontal level of resistance over the whole number level of $5. Okay, so obviously we had this massive run up, and then thanks to earnings last week, we had a nice pullback, and we're still upholding this new uptrend, this new higher high and higher low uptrend. Okay, now before I move on into the technical analysis, I want to talk more about the company itself. Okay, so SoundHound AI, just based on my own research and so far, and my own understanding, right? So they're basically a company that focuses on conversational AI, right? So they're integrating a different type of AI, a different. It's basically generative AI, right? So it's AI that's constantly generating conversation with the person or the client that they're using the conversational AI, and they're basically looking for conversational AI, and also basically, I'm pretty sure, translating text to speech. Right, so they have their own language and speech models, if I remember correctly, and they're really, well, just from the words from the CEO himself, they're really proud of their 10 plus year of R&D, research and development on their own AI model, and they began to monetize their own AI model, their own conversational AI model, through the customer service industry. All right, so for example, like restaurants, they really started to push into restaurants to see if their own AI model will actually work out. And so far, it seems like they have grown a good amount of restaurants who are using their service, where people, hungry people are calling in to place an order over the phone, and they're talking to an AI assistant that nearly sounds human. All right, so that's kind of their entire goal there. And recently, through their earnings report and their earnings conference call, I listened to it, and the CEO is really looking for growth, right? They're wanting to aggressively penetrate different industries, every single sector that could potentially have a usage for their own AI model and their API, right? So they have their own in-house API, or I believe the acronym is specifically, it's from if I remember, application programming interface. That's right. So application programming interface. They have their own API, if I remember correctly, and they're not really so they're not piggybacking off of ChatGPT, the widely used ChatGPT's own API, right? So SoundHound, that's kind of their main selling point, that they're offering their own in-house API, and I believe it's called Houndify. And it basically allows developers to focus on the conversational part of AI onto their own interfaces on whatever project that they're working on for these devs, right? So it may not seem too important right now with conversational AI, but from my own perspective, right? So this is all good and all, right? For SoundHound AI, they are expanding on their own, using their own technology, their own in-house API and AI models for the conversational AI. That's great, right? But the thing is, there are other big tech companies that are already doing this, and they have a lot more gunpowder, as in cash, to provide some really revolutionary conversational AI. For example, Google, right? Google had their own conference as well, if you guys remember. It almost reminded me of Apple's own conferences, but Google, they showcased how their own conversational AI models are doing, and it seemed really good, right? I mean, their own AI is able to even make a call for someone, for like a client, or even for individuals like us, for hospital appointments, or even placing an order at a restaurant. So that's kind of my main concern about this company in the longer term. Maybe this company can become a buyout target, a M&A target for a lot of the bigger companies like Google, who are developing their own conversational AI models and their own APIs, right? So from that perspective, that sounds very optimistic. But again, SoundHound has been focusing just based on their own earnings report, and also what the CEO is saying in their own the recent conference call from the earnings report back in, what was it? Last week, so November 12th, after hours. It seems like they want to continue to focus on not trying to be a buyout target or have any bids from other larger companies that are trying to buy their in-house developed API and conversational AI model. So to me, that's kind of an optimistic point to look at, but that means we need to be a bit more focused on what the actual company's management is doing, right? The actual CEO, the CFO. So basically the board of directors and what they're doing to try to grow this company at a good pace, but at the same time, knowing where they're headed to in the future, right? With a good, solid future growth plan. And that's the reason why we need to be scrutinizing exactly what the CEO is saying and maybe what the CFO is doing based on their actions and how they're managing the money. And so far, this is a good segue now, so far it seems like they're not doing too well, because they acquired a company called Amelia LLC, which was another conversational AI company for 80 million. And SoundHound doesn't have a lot of cash on hand to kind of justify that purchase. And the reason being is that, well, I'll give you my own reasons. Well, from the CEO's words himself, he has stated that they have the short-term, it's not a negative, obviously he's not going to say it's a negative, but it's a negative impact, right, on the overall company's financial health. So the CEO said that there are short-term impacts on their gross margins and overall costs because this recent acquisition of Amelia LLC has basically doubled their operating costs. Why? Well, for example, Amelia has their own cloud, right? Their own cloud, and I believe they also have their own third-party like APIs that they've used, Amelia itself. And so all of the costs that Amelia has been brought onto, and it's now the responsibility of SoundHound, right? So I can understand that they're looking to acquire other smaller companies compared to their company, right? And looking to add on to more of the tech, or the tech perspective of their conversational AI, and which is good for the longer term growth. However, right, these short term costs are it's a bit concerning, right? Because it ate into their gross margins, and I believe their revenue, they did beat on revenue and on earnings. But the overall concern is that their gross margins has been cut a lot after this acquisition. So a lot of people are scrutinizing this action by the overall board of directors and just the overall management, right? And the fact that the CEO is just focused on vertical growth, right? So what a lot of the CEOs like to say is they like to basically they like to expand into new verticals. And so what that basically means, just from my own words, my kind of paraphrasing of that statement is they're just trying to branch out into every single industry, markets, or anything that can that can use their technology, even if it may not be needed. They're just trying to find ways for their product or software or services to be of use in every single sector, every single industry. That's good and all, right? But again, that also increases their cost of generating even the revenue, right? So and the fact that they've recently acquired this company, a new company, for $80 million, right? It seems a bit out of place right now for them to do. But again, this is a growth company, right? It's a tech company that's looking to capitalize on this new wave of AI, right? This revolutionary wave of AI. There's this new world of AI where every company in the world, every major leading company in the world is either focusing on building their own AI models and having their own API, their own in-house API, or they're looking to acquire companies that are providing similar AI models that they personally need for their own company, or at least using the services that are coming out of the smaller companies like SoundHound. Again, SoundHound is a small cap company, but I could even say it's a micro company based on their own revenue, right? So the revenues are very, very small, right? 13 million in the recent quarter, 25 million. Now, just as a little side note, okay, there's a big jump here from August's earnings report and November's earnings report, right? And this big jump in revenue, this amazing all-time high revenue growth and number was solely due to the fact that they've acquired a new company. Okay, so I want you guys to let that sink in, right? So this company had reported all-time high revenue numbers simply due to the fact that they've acquired a similar company that was making a similar conversational AI model, and they've just taken in the revenue from that company and they've added it on to their own revenue that they've made in this quarter. So to me, from a fundamental standpoint, overall, what am I saying here about SoundHound AI? there are plenty of room for growth, right? And there's also plenty of potential speculative buyout bids for this company. Okay. However, we have these short-term to mid-term, I would say, too, concerns about their own financial health, and if they're going to be able to churn enough revenue to continue to, have enough to just simply do business operations, right? And to be able to eventually break even and cut out the costs that they've acquired from the company Amelia that they've bought for $80 million. Now, I don't know the exact details. I don't know if it was just specifically cash or through other avenues, but SoundHound, I think overall they're focusing on growth, which is great because they have to. They're forced to now, right? To literally cut the costs, well, quote unquote, cut costs by increasing their revenue and their earnings, right? So again, SoundHound, I would say personally they have a lot of market share to go into, right? They can expand into different sectors and markets that are not penetrated with this conversational AI model that they're putting out into the world. I mean, the CEO himself in the conference call was focusing on not just on restaurants, but now they're focusing on in the automotive industry, right? Having their own speech AI, right, in cars, right? So that we don't focus on try to look at our phones or even just the actual displays that are now in every single car, right? So he's really trying to be omnipotent with their services and their products with this conversational AI. He's focusing on devices, specifically mobile devices like phones, and that type of motivation is great for the company, right? I mean, that's amazing, right? But again, they need to focus on their finances. So what do I think about this company overall? It's a speculative company, right? It heavily relies on what the management will do in the next couple of months into the next couple of years, right? I know there's that macro outlook as well where, more companies will be focusing on cutting labor, right? Because the labor costs are huge. Even just the taxes on labor costs are huge for a lot of companies and a lot of businesses, right? So as wages go up as well, they want to hire less people, right? And in order to make sure that their profit margins, which are already thin, if depending on the industry or sector that business or company is in, they want to make sure to savor that, right? And in order to do that, they're most likely going to look at cutting, heads, right, employees, in order to drive that wage cost down. And they're most likely going to replace that with some sort of AI, right? And that's the reason why this company is really focusing on restaurants, right? The customer service industry or sector, and focusing on not just restaurants now, but like healthcare, insurance, all right? So obviously those are very, very big industries that will continue to grow as well, right? So there is a lot of room for growth. But then again, this is a company that doesn't seem to be doing too well financially. And yes, that's what a lot of small tech growth stocks, especially in AI, this fairly new, theme and space, they're going to look for very, very quick verticals, right? Like they say, okay, they're going to try to penetrate into a lot of new verticals and focus on just growth and growth and growth, right? It doesn't matter if they're going to be using debt financing as well. I know a lot of growth tech companies still do that, even amongst the leaders out there. For example, the cybersecurity leaders too. They use plenty of debt financing avenues to grow. So overall, here's my take on SoundHound, okay? I don't think we'll be seeing double digits anytime soon on their stock price for SoundHound, since that's going to put them at a crazy valuation that really isn't sustainable in my opinion, okay? Yes, if I factor in forward guidance, right, forward outlooks, even if I factor in that, I really don't think SoundHound will go that far. Maybe there could be a technical short squeeze yet again. since we moved what? Let's see. From a percentage standpoint, from our initial entry point above $5, right, to the highs, there was a nearly 57% move. Right, let's just say 57% move from $5, right? I mean, this is a pretty good move so far from a technical standpoint. But could there be short squeezes in the future? Sure, why not? But will those short squeezes be sustainable and be sustained to continue to move to possibly double digits in their share price? No, I do not think that. Does that make sense, guys? Right, so, from a fundamental standpoint, it's a little bit wishy-washy, right? I'm glad that they're focusing on growing, on expanding their revenue growth, the future revenue growth and future earnings growth. Those are very two important factors to the overall company's growth, right? They're looking into penetrating different industries and different sectors. That's great, but then again, right, you need to factor in the fact that their financial health really matters, right? And their next course of actions, their next steps are going to be critical to determine whether or not this company is going to be bankrupt, or they're going to try to save themselves by using debt financing, heavily going into debt financing. All right, so that's just my opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are very bullish out there for this SoundHound AI company, right? Obviously, it's conversational AI and the software behind it and the code. I don't know too much about that, okay? I just know what an API is. I know the fact that this company has their own API. They have their own in-house conversational AI model, stuff like that. That's great. They're not just piggybacking off of other major AI models like maybe even ChatGPT's API, like a lot of different other mobile apps and other small companies are doing now. So that's great, right? That's really good. And they're constantly doing R&D to figure out ways to continue to improve their products and even just their API, right? So that's good. Overall, that's great. Okay, so just again, fundamentally, I don't think this company will be valued correctly if it ever reaches $10, right? This double-digit whole number. So that's kind of the reason why I posed this question in the stream title. If, like I said here, is Sound AI done for good, right? Is it possible, right? Is it possible for this company to, go to $10, right? And to me, just from a valuation standpoint, it won't make sense, right? I mean, their market cap right now, where they're currently valued at, is like 2.5 billion, if I remember, or 2.6 billion from today's close. I think if I take a look here, yeah, okay, 2.4 billion, right? So I think 2.6 billion was like last week's maybe like Thursday or Wednesday's price. But yeah, so this valuation alone, I think this is even, I would say it's a bit overvalued now, even then. But again, the markets always tend to look at the future perception as to how the company will do in the future, right? And it prices in that future perception with the current price action, okay? But again, the earnings was great, but again, remember, they just added on the acquired company's revenue on top of their revenue. And also, their margins, their profit margins have been extremely squeezed as well, and gross margins have been squeezed, right? So they need to really be proactive in the next couple of months into next year to try to actively grow and provide some good, consistent revenue that actually comes from their own, right? Their own bottom line kind of product and service, without relying on the added on acquired companies' software and products. Okay, so now let's segue into the actual technical analysis for SOUN. Now, are there any more short squeezes left? Well, let's first take a look at the short interest percentage of Sound, right? The short float. Okay. Now, the reason why I want to take a look at the short interest percentage is that, well, we want to see if there's any room for any short squeezes. So first of all, yes, it does have room for short squeezes. That's great news. However, the short interest percentage is currently at 25%, which means there's a high probability that we don't see a short squeeze as well, and we see a continued bogging down of the price due to all the shorts overhead and all the supply that's overhead. And so I really wouldn't be surprised if last week's earnings reaction was a great way for a lot more shorts to pile in, right? Because this 25% short interest percentage value was actually an increased value from the last month. Based on the values that I'm seeing here, this was a 4.5% increase in short interest from the previous month. Okay, from this current month of November to the previous month of October, there was a 4.5% increase. That's a pretty significant increase. And so that tells me that there is a higher probability now that the shares can continue to move lower and be by all the overhead supply, that all these sellers and shorts are adding pressure on top of the price, inhibiting it from having any type of a constructive move back up higher. And so based on this earnings report, yes, it was great, it was optimistic, but based on the financials, it's looking a bit shaky here, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if all the shorts are coming in right now to pound the price right back down, maybe to $5 yet again, or maybe even below that, and just come back down to the ranges that the price was forming after this initial impulsive breakout higher back in February all the way up into March. Okay, so that's kind of my outlook for Sound. It's not too optimistic. They need to, again, show some sort of consistent revenue growth in the fact that they're actually penetrating these industries: healthcare, insurance, automotive, restaurants, and they're continuously being able to grow and grow and grow, and that there's an actual demand for this conversational AI model, their specific in-house made model, right? Rather than these other, the overall industries and sectors that they're looking into, focusing on the big tech companies' AI models, right? We need to see if they have any type of competitive edge over big tech. Okay, but little hint here, I don't think they will. I don't think they're gonna have a competitive edge over any of the big tech companies that are already forming their own conversational AI models. Okay, so that's a bit pessimistic on my side, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. And it seems like, again, they're not really looking to be bought out anytime soon, so that's on them. But at some point, I'm sure they might pivot in that type of thinking instead of trying to focus on growing their own company. But who knows? Who knows? I'm not in their board of directors. I'm not a part of the management, so maybe they do have that future in mind. Next 3 to 5 years, next 3 to 5 fiscal years. Who knows? But yeah, so SoundHound, again, I don't think there are any more short squeezes left unless we just see some sort of hype coming back into AI again as we head into the end of this year, maybe into the end or the beginning of next fiscal year of 2025. But overall, SoundHound, there's still a good possible swing trade to have. If you take a look at the daily time frame, right, we're now holding this $6.50 whole number previous resistance level as a new level of support, and we've actually begun to kind of consolidate this earnings move down. But again, it's an earnings reaction move down. We made lower lows and lower highs ever since then, so that's not too good. But we've been respecting this daily 10 and daily 21 momentum SMAs, which is great on my own perspective on from the technical angle, obviously. So there's a chance that we can see a potential sneaky buyback, maybe once the price is able to reclaim, well, it retested the daily 10 SMA today, and possibly if it's able to reclaim it tomorrow, there's a chance that we can maybe grab an entry point above $6.80. Or maybe just wait until it's able to get back over $7 and maybe actually fully fill in this gap down area here and possibly retest this 8 resistance level that the price made back in early to mid-March. Alright, so that's kind of my outlook on SoundHound. AI. Hopefully, this is a very insightful outlook on SoundHound, and hopefully you guys enjoyed my opinion from a fundamental and technical perspective. Yes, it's a bit pessimistic, but again, I have yet to see any of the actual numbers and data that's coming out from SoundHound, since their own recent earnings report wasn't too impressive, right? Due to the acquisition of that other smaller company, Amelia, for $80 million, when they're generating only, what, average like 10 to 15 million in that range of revenue, right? So, yeah. So that's kind of my outlook on that, guys. If you guys have any questions, please ask away in the chat room down below. But that's kind of it. That is it for tonight, guys. And for anyone who's just joining in now, please watch the replay. I talk a lot about the fundamental aspects of SoundHound AI and why it's important to focus on that with a small cap company like this, or again, based on the revenue alone, you can even identify it as a micro cap company if you want, even though the basic way to identify a company, whether it's a small cap, mid cap, or large cap, or mega cap, is through the market cap value. But you know, SoundHound is a small cap company since it's valued above $2 billion, or around $2 billion. It fluctuates. Obviously, it can be considered too, since a mid cap identification range ranges from 2 billion to, I believe, 10 billion, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, do what you want with that with that information. Okay. Alright, so that is it for tonight, guys. Hopefully these streams of looking at individual tickers are finding to be that you guys are finding to be very, very useful. Hopefully it's applicable, and hopefully you guys are getting a great use out of watching these replays, especially after you guys watch the live stream, because I highly recommend you guys to always come back and watch these replays. You know, for a plethora of reasons, right? So I'm always recommending you guys to always watch these replays, even after you guys have watched the initial live stream. But yeah, your support, your constant support, and if you guys are new here, make sure you guys smash that like button down below if you guys are new. And if you guys have enjoyed the information that was given here tonight, and if you guys want to take it a bit further, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well to make sure that you guys are notified to these live streams or whenever I have uploaded a new video. Alright, I'll see you guys on Thursday at the same time, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great rest of your night and good luck tomorrow.